Hello everyone, thank you for watching. I am downstairs because I keep getting interrupted, so I'm hoping that if I'm downstairs and I keep my voice down, they won't find me. So let's see if we can do this. Maybe the third time is the charm. So today I am reviewing a nonfiction book. Yes, I'm back to nonfiction after two fictional books. I am reading another fictional book. I've not given up on the genre. Don't come at me. But I read nonfiction by a fiction author, John Green, and his book, The Anthropocene Reviewed, which is the current form of humans in the 21st century. He covers his life, so it goes down to the 20th century as well. And this book was written, if you remember, 5 years ago when we were trying to figure out if we were ever going back to normal, ever be able to leave our homes. And there were some people, myself included, who were like, let's learn something new. I was still working, but I didn't have a commute time and didn't really go grocery shopping, had everything delivered. So we had time to do our things we dreamed for. So some people created sourdough starters, other people learned a new language. John Green wrote what I consider to be a memoir. He just took certain things in his life, and I'll go over that list in a second, and just, as it says, reviewed them and why they are important to humanity, or if they're important to humanity. So let's take a look. Now, the first thing I'm going to use is The Great Gatsby, because I do teach that for AP Lit. It is a quintessential American novel about the American dream. Have not found another one to use. I know there are some problems with it and the author himself, but John Green goes into the history. So I think it's always good to know the history of a book your teacher is forcing you to read. So F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote The Great Gatsby, and it wasn't a hit when he wrote it. His others were hits, his short stories were hits, but The Great Gatsby was not. So fast forward about 15 to 20 years, and we have another world war going on. So the USO decided that there is some downtime during wars, during battles. So the government just found short novels to reprint, to distribute to the soldiers to read on their free time. So Great Gatsby was one of those novels because it wasn't popular, so the printing price was low, and the U.S. government said, "Hey, American author, read it." Well, it became so successful because the soldiers, it kind of reminded the soldiers of home and of easier times, I guess, before the Great Depression hit, before the Second World War hit, and it just snowballed from there. So in 2025, we're looking at the 100th anniversary of The Great Gatsby. So I liked the fact that he reviewed that. At the end of each chapter, he gives each thing he's reviewed stars. So he gave The Great Gatsby 3.5 stars. So that's doable. But other things he talks about is the song You'll Never Walk Alone. And I consider this to be his memoir because he releases things, identify things about him that I don't think a memoir would. Because by reviewing things and talking about your connection with them, you're really talking about yourself. So I was very surprised that he said he was not a good student, especially with history and English. Okay, a well-known, successful author. You don't normally get that. You normally hear, school being okay, their life not great, but school was a release for them, a safe place. And also, if I hear of a new term or a historical event that I didn't know about, I always go to his crash course that he and his brother Hank write and produce on YouTube. And I love those. So it's really interesting to see how he has evolved. He talks about his mental health issues and how he needs medication, and he's very open about that. And then he just talks about things that are mundane, like his love for Diet Dr. Pepper. And when he explains it's the one diet soda that actually tastes like the original, you think about it and you go, yeah, he's absolutely right. Diet Dr. Pepper does taste like Dr. Pepper. Diet Coke does not taste like Coke. Neither does Diet Pepsi taste like Pepsi. I want to make sure I cover both my bases there. So that is his vice, Diet Dr. Pepper. Um, and the Piggly Wiggly, that grocery chain. His great grandfather or great grandfather was a successful grocer until the founder of the Piggly Wiggly automated grocery shopping, which means you did the grocery shopping yourself. You would go with the list, give it to the grocer would pick things, wrap it up, and give them to you. And now we go with our carts, and grab things. So that was interesting to see the rise and fall of the Piggly Wiggly. Also, if the city of Indianapolis has not taken excerpts from this book to, I want to go to Indianapolis. Who says that? I want to go to Indianapolis. If it's not for the 500, which he also discusses, but Indianapolis sounds like a really cool city in the way that you can maneuver around it. You go to New York City or San Francisco or Miami. You have to find ways of navigating everything because they're so big. And Indianapolis, it seems like you can drive. It's spread out. And then he just talks about things like staph infections. He has this propensity to get staph infections regularly. He's almost lost body parts due to this. So that's interesting as well. My favorite one is the QWERTY keyboard, the keyboard that we use, because being from the 1900s as well, I remember learning how to type. We had typing class in high school. And for those of you who weren't born in the 1900s, keyboards were kind of like the piano keyboards, which you would have a metal arm that had the uppercase and the lowercase of the letter, or the punctuation marks that are the same on your laptop computer. So you would hit, and the arm would hit the paper through this ink ribbon. That's why you didn't want to make a mistake, because once it was on the paper, it was on the paper. You had to back up. Sometimes they had little ink erasers that weren't great, but then you had all the shavings from that. That's where whiteout came from. So, he talked about that there are more efficient keyboards out there. Because the reason why the QWERTY is because of the arms. Sometimes if you went too fast and you had arms from the same location, they would get stuck on each other. So that's why they had to spread out the frequency of the letters. Well, now there are better keyboards out there, but it would take the humans too long to get used to it. And being on the downhill side of my life, I would tend to agree. So just interesting things that show what the human experience is like. So again, this is nonfiction, but I really wish more people would do their memoirs this way instead of a chronological order. I think just giving someone a random topic and just watching them review it would be very interesting. So I would give this 4 stars because I found it to be very interesting, and I'm very grateful that Mr. Green was so forthright in his struggle with mental illness. I think everybody needs to see that it's okay to not be okay, which is a cliche I give 1.5 stars to. So like, share, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.